Hi, welcome to lesson number 7, module 2 of the Apache Spark and Scala course. So in this particular lesson, we will be learning about collections in Scala. Now before we proceed with the lesson, let's have a quick recap of the last lesson. So in the last lesson, we have covered some of the very important concepts in the functional programming side of Scala. So we have learned about higher order functions, anonymous functions, currying, procedure, and closure. So in this particular lesson, we will be learning in general about collections, and then we will have a look at some of the specific types of collections such as set, list, and array. Now Scala is a language which has a rich set of collection library. Collections can be considered as containers which can hold objects. Now some of them are iterable and they can be sequenced as well. Some of the common examples of collections are array, list, tuple, option, map, so on and so forth. Now you can see the hierarchy of collections here, and when you look at the traversable collections, you have iterable collections which has sequence and set. Within sequence you have indexed and linear sequences, and in set you have sorted and bit set. We also have a collection type called map where we can have sorted map. Now the property of collection states that collections can be either mutable or immutable. Scala collections systematically distinguish between mutable and immutable collection. So what do we mean by mutable collection? Now a mutable collection can be updated or extended in place, which means you can change, add or remove elements from a collection. You can also change the size of a previously defined collection. Whereas when you have immutable collections, they don't change. But you still have operations that simulate the idea of additions, removals or updates. But they will result in a new collection being created. So the first type of collection in Scala that we are going to discuss is called array. Arrays are mutable indexed collection of values. So you can simply create an array and have as many values as you want. So it is based on an index data structure which typically starts from 0 to n-1 values. Now in Scala terms, array and in square brackets tree is equivalent to Java's T with square brackets. So here I can see an example of array which starts from one element till all the way to the 10th element. That means the total size of this array is 10, which contains 10 elements. And if you want to access the elements of an array, then the index should start from 0. That means if you want the 9th element from the array, you should mention an index number of 8. Now let's see practically how to declare an integer array and a string array as well. Now in the example, you can see that I'm typing val numbers equals array, and then I'm mentioning the array numbers. So here I'm giving 1, 2, 3, 4. When you hit enter, Scala automatically identifies the elements within the collection and creates an array of integers. Now, if you want to create a string array, you can do so by typing val equal to array, Java, Scala, Python. This is declared as a string array. And when you want to access the variables in an array, you can use the array name and the index position. When I type numbers and the position 2, the result is a third element which is 3. When I say course and index 1, the second element which is Scala is being displayed. Now let's have a look at fixed length arrays. Now here I am defining an array called myIntArray, which is new array, then I am mentioning integer as data type and 10. This means this will create an array with a fixed length. The length of the array is 10 here. And then I am typing var my star array equal to new array string and then 5. This will create a string array and the length of the array will be 5. And then you can do something like val my array equal to array hello comma welcome. This way you can add elements to an array. And when you type my str array 0, you will see the result as Scala. When you say my star array 1, you get the next element, which is Python. Now the next type of collection is called a list. Now the list on the first look will definitely deceive you, in the sense a list is pretty much like an array. However, there are two key differences between a list and an array. First of all, lists are by default immutable. You cannot create a mutable list, which means you cannot update the elements inside the list. And lists have a recursive structure where arrays are flat. Now class for immutable linked list representing ordered collection of elements of type. So the application of list is typically for last in first out stack like pattern. List can also contain duplicate elements as well. Now let's practically see how we can create a list. Now here you can see that I am creating a list called num by mentioning var num equal to list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. So this will create a list of integers, as you can see. And then I am creating a list of strings by mentioning var fruit equal to list apple, mango and banana. You can even create an empty list by typing val empty equal to list and without passing any arguments here. You can perform various operations on the created list. So if you want to get the first element of the list, you can type the list name followed by the head function. So here I am typing num.head, which gives me the first element, which is 1. There is another function called tail, which will give you all the rest of the elements in the list except the head part, but the result will be another list. So when you type num.tail, you can see that the result is another list which contains 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 except the value 1, which you can get using head. You can also use the .length function to get the length of the list. The .max function returns the highest number. The .min function returns the lowest number. And on the string list also you can perform the same operations. You can do a fruits.length, which says that the size of the list is 3, and there is a special function called .isEmpty, which returns a Boolean value. So remember, we have created an empty list in the last slide. So when I type empty .isEmpty, the answer is true since the list is empty. Now always remember that the .isEmpty function returns a Boolean and it can be true or false. The next type of collection that we have in Scala is called set. Now set is another collection that contains unique elements, and the operations on set is based on the set theory. You can have immutable and mutable set. Scala uses the immutable set by default. In order to create a set, use the word set. So here you can see that I am typing var s equal set 135791. This creates a set of unique values, and then when you type s, you can see that the set is being displayed, and all the operations such as head, tail is empty can be performed on the set as well. You can see that the head returns the element 5. The tail returns another set with the rest of the values, and is empty returns the Boolean value of false. So to wrap up, in this particular lesson we have learned about Scala collection, set of collection, list, set and arrays in Scala. That's all for this lesson. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to raise a support ticket. Thank you.